Hello, so welcome back. And my question on the last video was, what is the number one skill that we need as parents that no one ever teaches us? And the answer to that is that we need to learn how to understand other people. And in this case, to understand our children. Now, of course, it's really quite a complex process. So I'm going to share with you a very simple part of that process today that will make a difference immediately. But first, let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, who's a teacher, was taking a whole group of children to an art gallery. And he said to me afterwards, he said, Emma, a funny thing happened to me today. There I was in this art gallery, and I'm the teacher, and I have a group of 15-year-old children. And he said, there are all these signs everywhere in this museum. Don't touch this, don't touch that, keep off this. And he said, there was this beautiful bronze statue. And he said, right underneath in these big letters was "Do not touch." Well, and he said, I couldn't help myself. He said, I just had to give it a little stroke. So he did. And he said, of course, all the children thought it was hilarious that the teacher couldn't not do the thing that he was being asked not to do. Well, and I'm wondering whether you've ever been, I don't know, round a castle or some kind of garden where, or even in a public library or a park or somewhere where there's a little sign on some very beautifully manicured lawn that says, keep off the grass. And something in you just feels overwhelmed with desire to go and run all over the grass. Well, and it's like a friend of mine said to me recently. He said, Emma, what am I supposed to do? I've told my daughter time and time and time again not to play on the logs outside the kitchen door. And do you know what? She keeps on doing it. And of course, I'm sure that everybody out there has got examples of things that we ask our children not to do and they do it. Well, let me tell you how it works and why it's so compelling for us to do the very thing that we are told not to do. And the reason is this: our brains don't compute not. We don't do not in our imaginations, we only do not in language. So when we're talking about understanding each other, in order for me to understand the command, keep off the grass, do not touch, don't play on the logs, I have to imagine myself doing the very thing that I'm being asked not to do. And then my imagination is my unconscious mind, and it acts as a command to my body, which is why it makes it so compelling. So here we have, maybe you have here's some lovely little person here, and you say to them, be careful you don't spill the milk. Well, in order to understand that, she has got to imagine milk, spilt, crying. Got to understand this command by imagining it happen first and then thinking, oh, no, I mustn't do that. What am I supposed to do instead? So you see, unwittingly, we are planting ideas into the minds of our children of things that we don't want them to do. How often do we say things like, don't run on the ice? Don't run into the road. Think about school rules. Don't be mean to each other. Don't copy. Don't run in the corridor. It goes on and on and on. And it is so much more effective to do a very simple thing. And that is to change your language into words that you do want them to do. Now, some people say to me, gosh, well, that's really hard. How do I do that? How do I say don't spill the milk in a different way? Well, what we ask the child to do is to make sure that you are very careful when you're pouring the milk into the glass would be much more effective. And you know, in some cases, like don't touch the statue, you know, maybe sometimes it would be really, really useful if they didn't bother putting up signs that made us really want to do it. Because I suspect that a lot less people would do it. So have a go, catch yourself thinking about, oh, what am I asking them to think about when I speak to them? You know, when we say, oh, stay out of the way of Thomas when he's riding that bicycle really fast round the corner. What do we really want our children to think about? What do we want them to imagine that will then act as a command to them? And I'll just leave you with the story of George's Marvellous Medicine, Roald Dahl's lovely book, that has a passage in it that absolutely sums this up. And that is when George's mother goes to the shops and leaves him, alarmingly, as a lot of old-fashioned books do, home alone when he's about 7. Her parting words are, "Now George, don't get up to mischief." And the very next sentence says, and that was a stupid thing to say to George because he immediately started wondering what mischief he could get up to. So have fun with this, think very carefully about what you do want to say, and next time I will show you or share with you how I helped my son with comprehension tests, also part of the understanding process, when, in less than 5 minutes, when his teachers had told me that he had a serious comprehension problem. See you next time.